Introduction: Why attractiveness is a skill, not a gift. Welcome. If you found your way to this video, something drew you here. A quiet recognition that you are capable of more. That the version of yourself the world sees is not quite the full picture. That there is a more magnetic, more compelling, more powerfully present person inside you waiting to emerge. You are right. That person is there. And today we are going to talk about how to bring them out. Most people, when they hear the word attractiveness, immediately picture something physical, a jawline, a waistline, a particular aesthetic that conforms to whatever cultural moment we happen to be living through. And while physical appearance does play a role in attraction, it would be dishonest to pretend otherwise. It is a far smaller role than most people assume. Study after study in social psychology, evolutionary biology, and behavioral science confirms that what we find most compelling about other human beings has remarkably little to do with conventional physical beauty, and an enormous amount to do with how someone carries themselves, how they make us feel, and the kind of person they have become through their choices and habits. Think about the people in your own life who you find most attractive, not just physically, but as whole human beings. The people you are drawn to, who you want to spend time with, who seem to move through the world with a kind of ease and magnetism that you admire. Now think about what specifically it is about them that creates that effect. 9 times out of 10, it is not their symmetrical features or their perfectly toned physique. It is something harder to name but impossible to miss. The way they look at you when you are speaking, as though you are the only person in the room. The way they carry themselves, tall, grounded, unhurried. The way they speak, with warmth and clarity and conviction. The way they seem genuinely, deeply interested in the people and ideas around them. The way they seem comfortable in their own skin in a way that is both rare and infectious. These qualities are not accidents of birth or gifts handed out randomly at the genetic lottery. They are habits. They are the accumulated result of choices made consistently over time. Choices about how to show up in the world, how to treat others, how to grow, and how to inhabit one's own life with intention and presence. They are learnable, and that means you can learn them. That is the promise of this video. Over the next several hours of deep reading, we are going to go through 6 habits that, when practiced consistently and with genuine intention, will transform your attractiveness at every level: physical, social, emotional, and intellectual. We are going to go far beyond surface advice. We are going to look at the science, the psychology, the real-world application, and the inner work that makes these habits not just behavioral tricks, but genuine transformations of who you are. Every habit builds on the others. Every insight connects to a deeper truth. So stay with us from beginning to end, because the picture that emerges when all 6 habits work together is something greater than any individual piece. Let us begin. A note on authenticity. Before we dive in, there is one principle that needs to be established as the foundation for everything that follows: authenticity. All 6 of these habits, practiced genuinely, will make you more attractive because they will make you more fully yourself. Not a performance of attractiveness. Not a mask worn to impress others. Yourself, at your best, most present, most alive, most engaged version. The distinction matters enormously. There is a version of self-improvement that is fundamentally about manipulation, about crafting an image, deploying techniques, and performing a character designed to extract approval from others. That version might produce some short-term results, but it is ultimately hollow, exhausting, and unsatisfying. It does not build real connection because it is not real. What we are talking about is something different. We are talking about becoming the person who naturally produces these results, not because you are performing confidence, but because you have built genuine confidence through consistent action. Not because you are pretending to be curious, but because you have cultivated real curiosity. Not because you are mimicking the body language of attractive people, but because you have done the inner work that makes those physical expressions authentic. That is harder work, but it is the only work worth doing. And it is the work that produces results that last, results that compound over time, rather than fading as soon as the performance becomes exhausting to maintain. Keep that frame in mind as you read. We are not here to help you fake anything. We are here to help you become someone who does not need to. Habit 1. Master the art of confident body language. The language your body speaks before you do. Before a single word leaves your mouth, your body has already delivered a full speech. Communication researchers have long understood that the nonverbal dimensions of communication, posture, facial expression, gesture, eye contact, vocal tone, proximity, and movement constitute the overwhelming majority of the emotional and social information that one person transmits to another. Your words convey content. Your body conveys you. This means that every moment you spend in the presence of another person, you are communicating. The question is not whether you are sending signals, you always are, but whether those signals are working for you or against you. Most people, because they have never consciously examined their own body language, are sending signals that undermine the impression they want to create, often without any awareness that it is happening. Think about the last time you were in a conversation where something felt off, where you could not quite put your finger on it, but something about the other person felt closed off, anxious, or inauthentic. Chances are very high that it was their body language, not their words, creating that impression. The arms crossed tightly across the chest, the eyes that never quite meet yours, the constant small fidgets and adjustments, the slightly turned-away posture that implies a readiness for escape. These signals are read by the primitive parts of the human brain long before the conscious mind has a chance to weigh in. The extraordinary thing is that you can change these signals. With awareness and consistent practice, you can learn to speak with your body in a language that is confident, warm, open, and compelling. And when you do, something remarkable happens. The way the world responds to you begins to shift. People treat you differently. Conversations go differently. Opportunities appear that were not there before. Not because anything external has changed, but because the signals you are broadcasting have changed. And the world, which was always reading those signals, is now reading different ones. Posture, the architecture of confidence. Posture is the architecture of your physical presence. It is the frame on which everything else hangs. And the posture of most people in the modern world is, to put it bluntly, a disaster. We spend our days hunched over screens, slumped in chairs, curled in on ourselves as though trying to take up as little space as possible. This postural pattern, shoulders rolled forward, chest collapsed, chin tucked down, is the physical embodiment of diminishment. It says at a primal level, I am trying to be smaller. I am not sure I deserve to take up space. The posture of a confident, attractive person is its opposite. Spine long and tall, shoulders gently back and down, chest open, chin parallel to the floor or slightly elevated. Weight evenly distributed through both feet. This is not a military rigidity. That actually reads as tension, which is its own kind of problem. It is a relaxed expansion, a settled openness, a physical manifestation of the feeling, I am comfortable here. I belong. The science behind this is fascinating and well documented. Psychologist Amy Cuddy and her colleagues at Harvard Business School published research showing that adopting expansive, open body postures, what they call power poses, for as little as 2 minutes produces measurable hormonal changes, increases in testosterone, associated with confidence, and decreases in cortisol, associated with stress. Whether or not every detail of that research replicates perfectly, the underlying principle has been supported across multiple studies. Your body language affects your own internal state, not just how others perceive you. This creates a virtuous cycle. When you stand tall and open, you begin to feel more confident. When you feel more confident, it becomes easier to maintain confident posture. And as the confident posture becomes habitual, the confidence becomes baseline, a default state rather than something you have to actively generate. Begin building this habit today. Set phone alarms throughout the day labeled "Check your posture." Each time the alarm goes off, take a moment to lengthen your spine, draw your shoulders back and down, and open your chest. Do not force it or create tension. Just allow your body to take up the space it deserves. Over days and weeks, this gentle, repeated correction will begin to shift your default posture toward one that communicates exactly the kind of presence that turns heads and creates connection. Pay particular attention to your posture in high-stakes situations: job interviews, first dates, networking events, important meetings. These are precisely the moments when most people, because of nerves, are most likely to collapse into protective, closed postures. Deliberately counteract that tendency. Breathe into your chest. Lengthen your spine. Let yourself take up space. The physical act of doing so will actually help regulate your nervous system, reducing the anxiety that produced the collapsed posture in the first place. Eye contact. The art of truly seeing someone. Of all the elements of body language, eye contact may be the most powerful and the most underutilized. The eyes are rightly called the windows of the soul, not because of any mystical property, but because of what is literally happening neurologically when two people make eye contact. A complex cascade of social and emotional information is exchanged that no other form of communication can replicate. When you make genuine, sustained eye contact with someone, you are doing something profound and primal. You are saying with your eyes, "I see you. I am here. I am not afraid to be seen by you." In a world where most people spend their days looking at screens rather than at each other, this quality of direct, present, genuine eye contact is startlingly rare and startlingly powerful. Most people, when they feel nervous or self-conscious, default to avoiding eye contact. They look at their hands, at a point just past the other person's shoulder, at the floor, at their phone. This avoidance is a self-protective reflex. If I do not look, maybe I will not be judged. But it backfires badly. Avoiding eye contact reads as disinterest at best and as anxiety or untrustworthiness at worst. It creates a sense of distance and disconnection that works directly against the attraction you want to create. Learning to hold comfortable, warm eye contact is one of the highest leverage things you can do for your attractiveness. The key word is comfortable. There is an important distinction between warm eye contact and staring. Staring is an aggressive behavior. It signals dominance in a way that makes the other person feel hunted rather than seen. Warm eye contact involves a softness in the gaze, a quality of genuine openness and interest, a willingness to be looked at as much as to look. In practice, comfortable eye contact means maintaining connection with the other person's eyes for the majority of a conversation, while allowing natural breaks to look away briefly, to think, to gesture, to acknowledge something in the environment. The goal is not to lock onto someone's eyes and never look away, which is deeply uncomfortable and slightly unhinged. The goal is to be present with your gaze, to let the other person feel that they have your genuine attention and that you are genuinely interested in what you see. A beautiful specific practice. When someone finishes speaking, do not immediately drop your gaze or begin speaking yourself. Hold eye contact for just a beat, a second, maybe two, before responding. This small pause communicates that you have truly heard what they said and that you are taking it in, not just waiting for your turn to talk. It is a subtle thing, but the people you practice it with will feel it as an unusual and compelling form of attention. The way you move. Stillness as strength. Movement is communication. The pace at which you move, the economy of your gestures, the stillness you can achieve when stillness is appropriate, all of these transmit information about your internal state with remarkable precision. And the internal state that is most attractive from an evolutionary and social perspective is calm confidence, the state of someone who is in control, not threatened, and at ease. Anxiety expresses itself physically in a characteristic set of movement patterns: fidgeting, weight shifting, face touching, hair twisting, rapid and jerky movements, the inability to stay still. These patterns are almost universally readable as anxiety. And while anxiety is a completely natural and universal human experience, displaying it prominently in social contexts works against you. Not because anxiety is shameful, but because it signals to others at a primal level that you are not fully in control of your situation. And control, or at least the appearance of it, is deeply attractive. The movement pattern of confident, attractive people is almost the opposite. Measured, deliberate, unhurried. They do not rush. They do not fidget excessively. When they gesture, their gestures are purposeful and grounded, rather than anxious and scattered. When they turn to face someone, they do so fully, rotating their whole body toward the person rather than just their head. When they sit with an ease that suggests they own the chair, rather than that they are merely borrowing it. One of the most powerful specific practices is what we might call the deliberate pause. When you enter a room, before you begin moving toward a specific person or place, pause for just a moment. Look around, take in the space, then move. This tiny pause, 2 or 3 seconds at most, communicates something very specific. You are comfortable enough in this environment to observe it rather than just react to it. You are taking it in rather than just rushing through it. That quality of unhurried observational presence is magnetic. Apply the same principle of deliberateness to your speech and gestures. When you want to make an important point, slow down slightly. Let there be space around the words you want to land. Use your hands purposefully, to illustrate, to emphasize, to include, rather than nervously. And when you have nothing purposeful to do with your hands, let them rest naturally at your sides or in your lap, rather than endlessly occupied with fidgeting, touching, or adjusting. The smile, engineering genuine warmth. A genuine smile is one of the most universally attractive things a human face can do. This is not a cultural bias or a socially constructed norm. It is deeply wired into human neurology. The sight of a genuine smile triggers a complex social response in the observer, a sense of safety, warmth, and positive regard that is almost irresistible. We are literally built to respond positively to genuine smiling faces. The key word again is genuine. Psychologist Paul Ekman's decades of research on facial expressions identified a crucial distinction between what he called the Duchenne smile, a real smile that involves not just the mouth, but the muscles around the eyes, creating the characteristic crow's feet and squinting that signal genuine positive emotion, and the social or fake smile, which involves only the mouth muscles and which observers detect, often unconsciously, as insincere. You cannot fully fake a Duchenne smile because the muscles around the eyes that produce it are not under the same voluntary control as the mouth muscles. But you can cultivate the emotional states that produce genuine smiling more frequently and more naturally. When you practice genuine gratitude, genuine interest in others, genuine enjoyment of the moments of your life, your face naturally expresses these states more readily. The inner work and the outer expression are inseparable. That said, there are practices that help. Smiling more deliberately in low-stakes moments, at strangers you pass on the street, at service workers who help you, at colleagues in the hallway, builds the social muscle of smiling and creates a feedback loop. Your smile is returned. You feel a small burst of positive social connection, and you are more likely to smile again. Over time, smiling becomes more natural and more frequent. One specific practice that attractive people share is smiling with their eyes, not just their mouth. Even in a brief glance, allowing genuine warmth to reach your eyes, a slight softening, a quality of interest and appreciation, creates a profoundly different impression than the same glance without it. Practice this in the mirror if necessary. Look at yourself with genuine warmth and notice what your eyes do. That is the look you want to bring to every person you encounter. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, now is the perfect moment. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss the content that could genuinely change the trajectory of your life. Every week, we go deep on topics that matter. Real growth, real change, real results. The community here is one of the most engaged and growth-focused on this platform, and we would love for you to be part of it. Habit 2. Develop a deep and genuine curiosity about others. The counterintuitive secret to being fascinating. Here is perhaps the most counterintuitive insight about human attractiveness, and the one that most people in the world are getting backwards. The path to being found fascinating is not to be more fascinating, it is to be more interested. Not more interesting, more interested. The most compelling, magnetic people in any social environment share one consistent quality. They make you feel like the most interesting person in the room, not through flattery or performative attention, but through the quality of their engagement. They ask questions that invite you to go deeper than you usually do. They listen to your answer with their whole body. They follow up on what you said rather than pivoting to their own related experience. They remember in later conversations things you mentioned in passing. And in the presence of that quality of attention, something happens to you. You expand. You become more interesting, more articulate, more open, more alive. And you feel an almost instinctive warmth and draw toward the person who created that effect. Dale Carnegie articulated this truth nearly a century ago in How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it has been confirmed in social psychology research repeatedly since. People are primarily interested in themselves. Not in a cynical way, but in a deeply human way. Our own lives, our own concerns, our own stories and struggles and dreams are the most vivid and real things we know. When someone meets us and treats those things as genuinely worth their attention, we respond powerfully. We trust them. We like them. We want to be near them again. The habit of genuine curiosity about others is therefore one of the highest leverage attractiveness practices available. And it is available to everyone, regardless of looks, wealth, status, or any other external factor. The question is whether you are willing to do the internal work required, to actually become genuinely curious about the people you encounter, rather than just performing curiosity as a social tactic. The epidemic of half-listening. We are living through an epidemic of distraction, and one of its most damaging casualties is genuine listening. In most conversations, especially in the modern world where smartphones are present and our attention has been fractured by an endless stream of notifications and content, what passes for listening is at best partial, and at worst almost completely absent. Think about a typical conversation. While the other person is talking, you are very likely doing several of the following simultaneously. Thinking about what you want to say next. Evaluating whether what they are saying is impressive or boring. Monitoring your own emotional reactions. Checking the urge to reach for your phone. Noticing what is happening elsewhere in the room. Remembering something this story reminds you of that you want to share, or simply drifting into a private thought that the other person's words triggered. In other words, while they are talking, you are largely elsewhere. And they can feel it. Not always consciously, but at some level, people know when they are being genuinely heard and when they are not. The social intelligence we evolved over hundreds of thousands of years as a deeply tribal species includes a remarkably sensitive instrument for detecting the quality of another person's attention. When that attention is real, we feel it as warmth and safety. When it is absent or partial, we feel it as disconnection and subtle rejection. Becoming a genuine listener, truly, fully present to what another person is saying, is therefore one of the most powerful and most accessible ways to become more attractive. It costs nothing. It requires no special talent. It requires only the willingness to set aside, for the duration of a conversation, your preoccupation with yourself, and to give another person the gift of your full attention. This is harder than it sounds. Our minds are trained by modern life to multitask and to seek constant stimulation. Giving a single person your full, undivided attention without reaching for your phone or letting your mind wander requires active discipline, especially at first. But the practice of it creates its own reward. When you truly listen to another person, conversations become richer and more satisfying. Connection deepens. People share things they rarely share. And you, as the listener, often gain insights and perspectives that genuinely enrich your understanding of the world. The architecture of great questions. Curiosity expressed through conversation takes its most powerful form in the questions we ask. And there is an enormous difference between questions that create connection and questions that merely gather information. Most social questions are information-gathering exercises dressed up as conversation. Where are you from? What do you do? How long have you been in the city? Do you come here often? These questions are not bad. They serve as entry points. But they rarely create the kind of deep engagement and genuine connection that produces attraction. They invite answers that are rehearsed, surface level, and often boring to both parties. The question is not really asking who you are, it is asking what box you fit into. Genuinely curious questions are different. They invite the other person to reveal something real about themselves, something they may not have put into words before, something that reflects their actual values, dreams, fears, or perspective. They create the opportunity for an unexpected, meaningful answer, and they signal that you are interested in the person, not just in gathering their social coordinates. Some principles for crafting better questions. Prefer open-ended questions over closed ones. What drew you to that field of work generates a richer response than "do you like your job?" Prefer questions about experience and meaning over questions about facts and status. What has been the most surprising thing about living in this city tells you far more about a person than "how long have you been here?" And prefer follow-up questions over pivot questions. Instead of responding to someone's answer by sharing your own related experience, dig deeper into their experience first. Tell me more about that. What was that like for you? What did you take away from it? Another powerful question type is what we might call the values question. A question that invites someone to articulate what they care about rather than simply what they do. What is the most important thing you are working on right now is more interesting than "what do you do for work?" What is something you are really passionate about lately is more connecting than "what are your hobbies?" What is something you believe that most people around you do not is more revealing than any amount of biographical detail. Practice crafting better questions. Before social events, spend a few minutes thinking about 2 or 3 questions that you are genuinely curious about asking. Notice which questions in conversations produce the richest responses and which fall flat. Treat conversation as a craft and apply the same thoughtfulness and intentionality to it that you would apply to any other skill you are developing. Active listening, the physical practice of attention. Listening is not purely a mental activity. It is a physical practice as well, and the physical dimensions of listening send powerful signals about the quality of your attention. Active listening, the kind of listening that makes people feel truly heard, involves your entire body, not just your ears. Specifically, when someone is speaking to you, orient your body fully toward them, not just your head, your whole torso. This signals full engagement rather than half-hearted attention. Maintain the warm, comfortable eye contact we discussed in the previous habit. Nod periodically, not rapidly and robotically, but with the natural rhythm of genuine comprehension when you are actually processing and agreeing with something. Allow your facial expressions to respond authentically to what is being said. Let your face show that you are moved when something is moving, amused when something is funny, troubled when something is troubling. Resist the urge to interrupt. This is one of the most common and most damaging listening failures. Interruption signals that what you have to say is more important than what the other person is saying, and it consistently creates feelings of being dismissed and undervalued. Let people finish their thoughts completely, even when you can see where they are going, even when you are excited to respond, even when you disagree with where they are headed. The discipline of letting someone complete their thought is an act of profound respect. After someone finishes speaking, allow a brief moment before you respond. Most people, because they have been planning their response throughout the other person's speech, begin responding almost before the last word is out of the other person's mouth. This is a tell. It reveals that you were not really listening. You were waiting. Instead, let there be a small pause. Take what they said in, then respond. That pause, as small as it is, communicates something powerful. I actually heard you. I am actually thinking about what you said. That is not a common experience, and it is deeply valued. The power of memory and the practice of noticing. One of the most powerful expressions of genuine interest in another person is remembering them. Not just their name, though that matters, but the details. The things they mentioned in passing. The project they were anxious about. The relationship they were navigating. The place they were planning to visit. The book they said they were reading. When you remember these details and bring them up in later interactions, when you say, "How did that presentation go? You seemed a little nervous about it last time we talked." You send a signal of extraordinary power. This person mattered to me. What they shared with me stayed with me. I thought about them between our conversations. That experience of being remembered at this level is so rare and so meaningful that it creates an almost immediate deepening of connection and warmth. If you are someone who struggles with memory, do not despair. This is something that can be systematized. After a significant conversation, take a few minutes to write down the key things you learned about the person, what they are working on, what they are worried about, what they are excited about, what they mentioned that seemed important to them. Before you see them again, glance at those notes. The act of reviewing creates a kind of caring that the other person will feel as genuine, because it is genuine. The intention behind the system is real. Beyond memory, there is a more foundational practice, the practice of actually noticing people. Most of us move through our days only partially aware of the people around us, attending to them as functional participants in our routines rather than as fully realized human beings with their own rich inner worlds. Cultivating the habit of genuinely noticing people, of actually looking at them, registering their expression, sensing their mood, attending to the subtle cues that they are experiencing something, is the foundation on which genuine curiosity is built. Try it as an experiment. For one day, practice actually seeing the people you encounter. The cashier at the grocery store, look at their face. What is their energy today? The colleague who passes you in the hallway, are they their usual self, or is something slightly different? The friend you are meeting for coffee, are they fully present with you or carrying something? Genuine curiosity begins with genuine noticing, and genuine noticing is an act of profound respect. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, now is the perfect moment. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss the content that could genuinely change the trajectory of your life. Every week, we go deep on topics that matter. Real growth, real change, real results. The community here is one of the most engaged and growth-focused on this platform, and we would love for you to be part of it. Habit 3. Invest relentlessly in your physical health. Health as the foundation of vitality. Physical health and physical attractiveness are more deeply intertwined than most conversations about attractiveness acknowledge. Not because you need a specific body type to be attractive, that framing is far too narrow and far too tied to culturally specific and historically contingent beauty standards, but because the habits that produce genuine physical health also produce a quality of aliveness, of vitality, of presence that is universally and powerfully attractive. There is a quality that healthy, well-rested, well-nourished, physically active people have that is difficult to articulate precisely but impossible to miss. Their eyes are clearer and brighter. Their skin has a kind of luminosity. Their posture is naturally more open and relaxed. Their energy is more stable and available. They laugh more easily. They are more fully present in conversations. They move with an ease and grace that signals a body that is comfortable and capable. This quality, this embodied vitality, is not primarily about aesthetics, although it certainly affects aesthetics. It is about the underlying biological fact that a healthy body and a healthy nervous system produce a different quality of experience and expression than an exhausted, inflamed, nutritionally depleted one. When your body is well cared for, it functions as it was designed to function, and the difference shows in every dimension of your physical and social presence. The habits we are going to discuss in this section, sleep, movement, nutrition, and grooming, are the foundational practices of physical health that have the most direct and significant impact on your attractiveness. None of them require perfection. All of them reward consistency. And the compound effect of these habits practiced together over months and years is genuinely transformative. The non-negotiable importance of sleep. If you are reading this on less than 7 or 8 hours of sleep, almost everything else we discuss in this video will be operating at reduced effectiveness. Sleep is not optional. It is not a luxury. It is the single most fundamental biological process that your body requires to function optimally. And the effects of sleep deprivation on every dimension of health, physical, cognitive, emotional, and social, are dramatic, well-documented, and deeply damaging to attractiveness. Consider what chronic sleep deprivation does to your physical appearance alone. The circles under your eyes deepen and darken. Your skin becomes sallow and loses its natural luminosity. Your eyes lose their brightness and clarity. Your face tends to look more drawn and less vibrant. These are not subtle effects. Research has confirmed that strangers can reliably identify sleep-deprived individuals as less attractive, less healthy, and less approachable than their well-rested counterparts, based on photographs alone. Beyond appearance, sleep deprivation devastates the social and emotional qualities that make you attractive in interactions. A sleep-deprived person has a shorter fuse, less emotional regulation, reduced empathy, and impaired social intelligence. They are more reactive, less curious, less warm, and less able to read the emotional cues of others. In other words, sleep deprivation systematically undermines almost every quality that makes someone socially and emotionally attractive. Sleep is also when your body does the majority of its physical repair work. Skin cells regenerate. Muscles repair micro-tears from exercise and grow stronger. The brain consolidates learning and memory, clearing out metabolic waste products that accumulate during waking hours. Human growth hormone, critical for muscle maintenance, fat metabolism, and skin health, is released primarily during deep sleep. Skimp on sleep and you are literally depriving your body of the time and conditions it needs to repair and regenerate. Building excellent sleep habits is one of the highest return investments you can make in your attractiveness. This means maintaining a consistent sleep and wake time 7 days a week, not just on weekdays, but on weekends too. It means creating a sleep environment that is cool, completely dark, and as quiet as possible. It means establishing a wind-down routine in the hour before bed that signals to your nervous system that it is time to transition towards sleep. Reducing light exposure, avoiding stimulating content, perhaps doing something gentle like reading physical books, stretching, or meditating. And it means protecting your sleep from the primary modern threat: screens, which emit blue light that suppresses melatonin production and makes falling asleep harder. If you currently get 6 hours of sleep a night and you increase that to 8, you will notice the difference in how you look and how you feel within days. Your skin will look better. Your eyes will be brighter. Your mood will be more stable. Your energy will be higher and more sustained. Your social intelligence will be sharper. Your patience will be greater. You will be, in almost every measurable way, more attractive. Movement. building a body that radiates aliveness. Regular physical movement is one of the most powerful and multi-dimensional attractiveness investments available to any human being. Its effects are not limited to the physical changes in body composition, although those are real and significant, but extend to the neurological, hormonal, psychological, and social dimensions of how you show up in the world. Let us start with the physical. Regular exercise, particularly a combination of cardiovascular training and resistance training, produces changes in your body that directly and significantly affect physical attractiveness. Resistance training builds muscle, which improves posture, creates a more capable-looking physique, and boosts metabolic health. Cardiovascular training improves circulation, which is directly visible in skin health and color, and builds the aerobic capacity that means you move through the world without becoming winded and red-faced from minimal exertion. Together, these modalities produce a body that looks and feels more alive, more capable, and more attractive. But the psychological effects may be even more significant. Research consistently demonstrates that regular exercisers report higher levels of self-esteem, lower levels of anxiety and depression, better emotional regulation, and greater overall life satisfaction than their sedentary counterparts. The neurochemical cascade triggered by physical exercise, including endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and brain-derived neurotrophic factor, produces a lasting improvement in mood and cognitive function that has real-world effects on how you carry yourself and how you interact with others. People who exercise regularly tend to be more confident, not in a performative way, but in a quiet, embodied way. The confidence of someone who lives in a capable, well-cared-for body, and who has the daily evidence of their own discipline and self-investment to draw on. That kind of confidence is built, not assumed, and it shows in everything from the way someone stands to the ease with which they make decisions. The exercise habit does not need to be extreme to produce these effects. The research on exercise and well-being consistently shows that moderate, consistent activity, in the range of 150 to 300 minutes of moderate cardiovascular activity per week, plus 2 or 3 sessions of resistance training, produces the majority of the health and psychological benefits. You do not need to be an elite athlete or spend 2 hours daily in the gym. You need to move your body consistently and with some intention, and to build that movement into your life as a non-negotiable part of your routine. Find the forms of movement you actually enjoy. This matters enormously for long-term consistency. Walking is underrated. A daily 30 to 45-minute walk is a genuinely powerful health intervention, particularly when done in nature. Lifting weights is one of the most efficient forms of exercise for changing body composition and building the kind of physical confidence that comes from getting stronger. Swimming is extraordinarily good for the whole body and carries minimal injury risk. Dance, martial arts, yoga, rock climbing, team sports. The best exercise is the exercise you will actually do consistently. Explore until you find what moves you, and then do it with the kind of regular commitment that makes it a pillar of your identity rather than something you do when you feel like it. Nutrition. Eating in ways that nourish your vitality. The relationship between what you eat and how you look and feel is so fundamental and so direct that it is almost surprising how rarely people make the connection. Food is not just fuel. It is the literal raw material from which your body builds and rebuilds itself. The quality of the food you eat determines the quality of the material your body has available to construct your skin cells, your hair, your hormones, your neurotransmitters, and every other physical and biochemical structure that constitutes you. Eat mostly whole, real, minimally processed foods, and eat them in sufficient quantity and variety to provide everything your body needs. This means an abundance of vegetables in as many colors as you can manage, because different colored vegetables provide different phytonutrients that support different aspects of health. It means quality proteins, whether from animal or plant sources, tailored to your own preferences and values, because protein is the building block of muscle, skin, hair, and many hormones. It means healthy fats, including especially omega-3 fatty acids found in oily fish, walnuts, and flaxseed, which support skin health, brain function, and the management of inflammation throughout the body. Hydration deserves special attention because it is so consistently underestimated and so consistently neglected. The majority of adults in the developed world are chronically mildly dehydrated, and the effects on physical appearance and cognitive function are more significant than most people realize. Even mild dehydration makes skin look dull and less plump, reduces cognitive clarity and sharpness, creates headaches and fatigue, and negatively affects mood. Simply drinking enough water, generally 2 to 3 liters per day for most adults, more in hot conditions or with vigorous exercise, can produce visible improvements in skin quality and measurable improvements in energy and cognitive function within days. The foods and substances to limit or minimize are the obvious ones. Ultra-processed foods high in refined carbohydrates and poor quality oils, excessive sugar in all its forms, alcohol, and excess caffeine. These substances are not evil in themselves, and occasional indulgence is part of a balanced and enjoyable life. But as dietary staples, they consistently undermine the quality of sleep, mood, skin, energy, and overall health that constitute the physical dimension of attractiveness. One particularly powerful nutritional habit for attractiveness is prioritizing anti-inflammatory foods. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the primary drivers of accelerated skin aging, mood disruption, cognitive decline, and a host of chronic health conditions. Anti-inflammatory foods, including olive oil, fatty fish, colorful vegetables, berries, turmeric, green tea, and nuts, help manage this inflammation and produce visible and internal benefits. Adding these foods to your diet is not about restriction, but about abundance. Eating more of what serves your body, which naturally leaves less room for what undermines it. Grooming and presentation. Self-respect made visible. The way you present yourself to the world is a form of communication. It tells people, before you have said a word, something important about how you relate to yourself. People who take care of their appearance, who dress with intention, maintain good hygiene, attend to the details of their grooming, are communicating self-respect. They are saying, non-verbally but unmistakably, I value myself enough to show up in the world with care and intention. This does not require wealth. The most important elements of attractive personal presentation are available at every budget. Clean, well-fitting clothes, good hygiene, a hairstyle that suits your features and that you keep maintained, basic skin care, dental health. These things signal care and intention regardless of their cost. A person in inexpensive but clean, well-fitting, appropriate clothing reads as more put together and attractive than someone in designer clothes that are wrinkled, ill-fitting, or dirty. Fit is perhaps the single most important element of clothing-based attractiveness. Clothes that fit your actual body, not the body you used to have or the body you aspire to have, but the one you have right now, are always more attractive than clothes of any price point that do not. If you have a wardrobe full of clothes that mostly fit, you will always look better than someone whose wardrobe is full of things that mostly do not, regardless of the labels involved. Skincare is worth a mention because it has a disproportionately large effect on physical attractiveness and is often drastically underinvested in, particularly by men. The basics are not complicated. A gentle cleanser to remove dirt and excess oil, a moisturizer to maintain skin barrier function and hydration, and a broad-spectrum SPF to prevent the sun damage that is the single largest external cause of premature skin aging. These 3 steps, performed consistently, produce a remarkable improvement in skin quality over months and years. They represent one of the highest return investments in physical attractiveness available, particularly given how affordable basic versions of each product are. Dental health deserves particular emphasis. Your smile is one of the most immediately and powerfully noticed features of your physical presentation, and the health and appearance of your teeth directly affects the quality and frequency of your smile, and therefore, your attractiveness. Brush twice daily with fluoride toothpaste, floss daily, and see a dentist regularly. Whitening, if desired, is affordable and accessible. These simple investments in dental health pay enormous dividends in the attractiveness of your smile. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, now is the perfect moment. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss the content that could genuinely change the trajectory of your life. Every week we go deep on topics that matter: real growth, real change, real results. The community here is one of the most engaged and growth-focused on this platform, and we would love for you to be part of it. Habit 4. Cultivate a growth mindset and never stop becoming. The attractiveness of someone who is still becoming. There are two kinds of people in the world, and you can feel the difference the moment you are in a conversation with each of them. The first kind is someone who has, at some level, stopped growing. They may have accomplished things, they may have status and knowledge and experience, but there is a quality of stagnation about them, a sense that everything they are going to become, they already have become. Their stories all point backward. Their opinions are settled. Their worldview is fixed. Spending time with them is fine, but rarely exciting or enriching. The second kind is someone who is still becoming. They are in the middle of something, a project, a learning process, a personal challenge, a transformation. They have questions they are wrestling with. They have things they are working to understand. They have areas where they are actively growing, stretching, being changed. Spending time with these people is energizing. You leave conversations with them having thought things you had not thought before, seen things from angles you had not considered, feeling slightly more expanded than you were when you arrived. The second kind of person is almost always more attractive. Not because success and accomplishment are unattractive, they are not, but because forward movement creates a quality of aliveness and energy that is magnetic. People who are still becoming are more interesting conversationalists because they have more fresh material to work with. They are more open to other perspectives because they are genuinely interested in ideas that might change them. They are more inspiring because they model the possibility of growth. And they tend to carry a kind of enthusiasm and energy that is genuinely contagious. A growth mindset, as psychologist Carol Dweck defines it, is the foundational belief that your abilities, intelligence, and character are not fixed traits, but dynamic qualities that can be developed through effort, learning, and experience. People with this mindset see challenges as opportunities, failures as feedback, and effort as the mechanism of growth. They are not threatened by difficulty, they expect it, and they know from experience that navigating it is what makes them more capable. This mindset is attractive not just because of what it produces, although it produces a lot, including higher achievement, greater resilience, and better relationships, but because of how it feels to be around it. People with a growth mindset tend to be more curious, more open, more encouraging, and more fun to be around than those who are operating from the belief that their capacities and worth are fixed and must be defended rather than developed. The habit of continuous learning. The most practically powerful expression of a growth mindset is the daily habit of learning. Reading books, listening to podcasts, taking courses, attending lectures, having conversations with people who know things you do not. These are the mechanisms through which a growth mindset translates into actual growth. And the people who practice continuous learning consistently become, over time, genuinely more interesting, more knowledgeable, more insightful, and more attractive. Reading is perhaps the most powerful single learning habit available. The case for reading is so strong and so well documented that it is almost impossible to overstate. People who read widely and consistently, across disciplines, across perspectives, across genres, build a richer, more textured understanding of the world than those who do not. They have more ideas to draw on. They make more unexpected connections between domains. They are better writers because they have encountered a greater variety of excellent writing. They are better thinkers because they have been exposed to better thinking. They are more empathetic because great fiction builds empathy in ways that nothing else quite replicates. The minimum effective dose of reading is surprisingly small. 15 to 20 minutes per day, the time many people spend scrolling through social media in the morning, adds up to more than a book per month. 12 to 15 books per year, consistently over a decade, produces a depth and breadth of knowledge and perspective that makes a person genuinely more fascinating and more capable. The compound effect is staggering. Learning does not only happen through books. Seek out conversations with people whose expertise and experience differ from yours. Travel when you can, even within your own country or city, to encounter perspectives and realities different from your own. Pursue creative hobbies that challenge you to build skills in domains where you are a beginner. Take online courses in subjects that fascinate you, but that you have never formally studied. The world is full of knowledge and wisdom available to anyone willing to seek it. One specific practice worth highlighting: learn something in public. Take a class where you will be observed being a beginner. Join a group where you are the least experienced person in the room. Attend workshops or events outside your area of expertise. Being a beginner in public is uncomfortable. It requires setting aside ego and the need to appear competent. But it is one of the most powerful ways to build genuine humility, genuine curiosity, and genuine resilience. And people who are comfortable being beginners, who are not too proud to not know things, are consistently more attractive than those who perform expertise they do not actually have. The willingness to be changed. One of the deepest expressions of a growth mindset is a quality we might call intellectual and personal flexibility. The willingness to genuinely update your beliefs, opinions, and self-concept in response to new evidence and experience. This is rarer than it sounds, and more attractive than most people realize. Most people, when confronted with evidence that challenges their existing beliefs, experience what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, the discomfort of holding two contradictory things simultaneously, and resolve it by rejecting the new information rather than updating the belief. This is natural. It is how the ego protects itself from the labor of revision. But it produces people who are rigid, predictable, and increasingly out of step with a world that is constantly changing. Genuinely flexible people, those who can say, "I used to think this, but I changed my mind when I encountered this evidence," are far more attractive. They are more trustworthy because you know their views are actually grounded in reality, rather than in the need to defend their prior positions. They are more interesting because talking with them can actually change the way you see something, rather than just providing another rendition of views you already knew they held. And they model a kind of intellectual courage, the willingness to be wrong in public and to grow from it, that is deeply admirable. Build the habit of actively seeking perspectives that challenge yours. Read authors you disagree with. Have real conversations with people whose worldview differs significantly from your own, not to debate them, but to genuinely understand how the world looks from where they stand. When you find yourself reacting defensively to an idea, treat that defensiveness as information. It is pointing to a place where growth is available. Ask yourself why this challenges you, and whether the challenge might be telling you something worth knowing. Embracing failure as instruction. The relationship that the most attractive people have with failure is one of the things that most distinguishes them from those who struggle to develop their potential. Most people experience failure as a verdict, a judgment that they are not good enough, not capable enough, not destined for success. This experience of failure as verdict produces the most reasonable possible response: avoidance. If failure means I am not enough, then the rational strategy is to avoid situations where failure is possible. The trouble is that all growth requires risk, and risk requires the possibility of failure. Every skill we develop takes us through a period of incompetence before we reach competence. Every meaningful relationship involves the vulnerability of being genuinely known, which includes the risk of rejection. Every creative endeavor involves the exposure of sharing something we made, with the genuine possibility that it will not land. If we organize our lives to avoid these risks, we avoid not just the failures, but the growth that comes with them, and the richness and aliveness that growth produces. People with a growth mindset relate to failure differently. They experience it as information rather than verdict. When something does not work, the question is not what does this say about me as a person, but what does this tell me about what I need to learn or do differently? This reframe, from failure as judgment to failure as instruction, is one of the most powerful psychological shifts available, and it fundamentally changes the willingness to take the risks that growth requires. Begin building this relationship with failure by deliberately putting yourself in situations where you might not succeed. Apply for the opportunity that is slightly beyond your current credentials. Sign up for the class where you will be a genuine beginner. Have the conversation that might go badly. Make the creative work that might not land. Each experience of attempting something difficult and surviving the result, whatever that result is, builds the evidence that failure is survivable, that you are more resilient than you feared, and that the attempt itself has value regardless of the outcome. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, now is the perfect moment. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss the content that could genuinely change the trajectory of your life. Every week we go deep on topics that matter. Real growth, real change, real results. The community here is one of the most engaged and growth-focused on this platform, and we would love for you to be part of it. Habit 5. Communicate with clarity, warmth, and conviction. Communication is the medium of your personality. Your personality, as rich and complex as it is, only reaches other people through communication. Everything you think, feel, know, value, and believe is invisible until it is expressed, in words, in tone, in gesture, in silence. This means that communication is not a vehicle for who you are. It is, in the world-facing dimension, actually how you are. The gap between who you are internally and how that appears to others is almost entirely the product of your communication quality. This is simultaneously sobering and exciting. Sobering because it means that no matter how extraordinary your inner life, if your communication skills are poor, others will not experience that inner life. The fascinating thinker who cannot express their ideas, the deeply caring person who cannot convey warmth, the confident individual whose body language contradicts their words. In each case, a gap between the inner and outer self creates a less than ideal experience for those who encounter them. Exciting because communication skills can be developed. Unlike certain dimensions of your life, the family you were born into, the historical moment you inhabit, the genetic hand you were dealt, how you communicate is almost entirely a matter of practice and intention. And because most people invest very little conscious effort in developing their communication skills, those who do invest consistently stand out dramatically. The three qualities of communication that matter most for attractiveness are clarity, warmth, and conviction. Clarity means that what you intend to communicate actually lands as you intend it. Warmth means that the emotional register of your communication creates connection and positive feeling. Conviction means that you communicate from a place of genuine belief and self-assurance rather than anxious hedging. Together, these three qualities produce communication that is compelling, trustworthy, and deeply attractive. The architecture of clarity. Unclear communication is one of the most common and most consequential communication failures. When what you mean to say and what the listener actually hears diverge significantly, the result is confusion, misunderstanding, and the erosion of trust. And the gap between intended meaning and received meaning is far wider, far more frequently than most people realize. Clarity begins with knowing what you want to say before you say it. This sounds obvious, but the number of people who begin speaking before they have a clear sense of where they are going is extraordinary. The result is rambling, circular, uncertain speech, the verbal equivalent of watching someone stumble around a dark room looking for the light switch. Taking a moment to identify the core point you want to make before you begin speaking is one of the simplest and most powerful improvements in communication available. Clarity also requires the discipline of specificity. Vague language, good, nice, interesting, kind of, a lot, kind of, sort of, communicates very little and requires the listener to do excessive interpretive work. Specific language, exactly what you mean, with concrete details rather than generalities, lands with far more precision and impact. Instead of saying it was a pretty big crowd, say there were probably 300 people there. Instead of saying I liked it, say what specifically you liked and why. Specificity signals clarity of mind and creates a more vivid, engaging communication experience. Structure is another dimension of clarity that is often overlooked in casual conversation. The most effective communicators tend to have an unconscious or conscious sense of the beginning, middle, and end of what they are saying. They know where they are going. They take you there in a clear sequence, and they know when they have arrived. Practicing this structural awareness in everything from casual conversation to formal presentations gradually builds the habit of organized thinking that produces clear communication. The science and practice of vocal delivery. The quality of your voice, its pace, tone, volume, modulation, and the pauses within it, is one of the most underrated dimensions of communication, and one that has a profound effect on how attractive you are perceived to be. Research on vocal attractiveness consistently finds that certain vocal qualities, a moderately low pitch, deliberate pace, clear articulation, and dynamic range, are associated with competence, trustworthiness, and attractiveness across cultures. Pace is perhaps the most important variable and the most immediately improvable. Most people, especially when nervous, speak too quickly. Rapid speech makes you harder to understand, signals anxiety, and paradoxically makes listeners less engaged rather than more. Slow, deliberate speech, with intentional pauses at key moments, is consistently more compelling. Pauses are not empty space. They are where impact lives. When you say something important and then pause, you give the listener time to absorb it, and you signal through the pause that what you just said was worth absorbing. Practice slowing your speech down by recording yourself and playing it back. Most people are shocked by how different their voice sounds when recorded and how much faster they are speaking than they realized. Find a pace that feels almost uncomfortably slow to you, and note that it will almost certainly sound just right to others. The pace that feels natural to you as the speaker is almost always faster than what is optimal for the listener. Modulation, the variation in your vocal tone, volume, and pace as you speak, is what makes a voice interesting to listen to. A monotone voice, regardless of the content, becomes tedious quickly because the ear stops attending to it. Varying your pitch slightly when you ask a question, dropping your voice on an important point to create gravity, speeding up slightly when narrating an exciting moment, and slowing dramatically for a key revelation. These modulations create a listening experience that keeps the other person's attention alive and engaged. Volume is worth a brief mention. Speaking too softly signals lack of confidence and forces listeners to strain, which quickly becomes tiring. Speaking at a volume that fills the space you are in without dominating it communicates ease and confidence. If you tend to speak softly, particularly at the ends of sentences where many people trail off, Practice consciously maintaining your volume through to the end of what you are saying. The courage of authentic expression. One of the most attractive and most rare communication qualities is the courage to express your actual thoughts and feelings authentically. Most people, most of the time, are engaged in a kind of social performance, saying what they think the other person wants to hear, softening their views to the point of meaninglessness, adding so many qualifiers and disclaimers to their opinions that nothing clear remains. This performance is exhausting for the performer and unsatisfying for the audience. Authentic expression, saying what you actually think, feeling what you actually feel, sharing your genuine perspective even when it differs from the prevailing view, requires courage. Social courage, the willingness to risk the discomfort of disagreement, the vulnerability of being truly known, the possibility of rejection. Most people do not have this courage consistently, which is precisely why those who do stand out so powerfully. Authentic expression is not the same as tactlessness. You can be honest without being unkind. You can share your genuine perspective while remaining genuinely open to other perspectives. You can disagree respectfully and still with full clarity. The goal is not to weaponize your honesty or to use authenticity as an excuse for cruelty. The goal is to be enough in integrity with yourself that the person in front of you can actually know who you are. And that quality of genuine knowability is deeply, powerfully attractive. Begin building this habit by starting small. In low-stakes situations, practice expressing your actual preferences and opinions rather than deferring to whatever seems most socially safe. When asked where you want to eat, say where you actually want to eat. When asked your opinion on something, share your actual opinion rather than asking what the other person thinks first. When you disagree with something said in a meeting or conversation, practice finding a respectful way to say so rather than silently going along. Each small act of authentic expression builds the muscle of honesty and makes the larger acts of authentic expression more accessible. Over time, you become someone who is known for their genuine perspective, someone people seek out because they know they will get a real answer rather than a reflection of their own views. That quality of reliable authenticity is one of the most attractive characteristics a person can have. Mastering the art of storytelling. Human beings are, at the most fundamental level, storytelling animals. Before we had writing, before we had science, before we had philosophy, we had stories. Stories are how our species has always shared meaning, transmitted wisdom, built identity, and created connection. And the ability to tell a good story, to take raw experience and shape it into a narrative that holds another person's attention and leaves them with something, is one of the most powerful communication skills in existence. Every memorable conversation includes stories. Every influential communicator is an effective storyteller. Every person who consistently holds the room's attention when they speak has developed, consciously or not, the ability to structure their experiences into compelling narratives. And because storytelling is a craft, a set of learnable skills rather than an inborn talent, this is something you can develop deliberately. The fundamental structure of a good story is simple. There is a situation, a complication, and a resolution. Something was a certain way. Then something changed or was at stake. Then it was resolved or not, and the lesson is in the failure to resolve. This three-part structure is deeply wired into the human brain, which evolved to process information in narrative form. Stories that follow this structure hold attention naturally. Stories that lack it tend to meander and lose the listener. Beyond structure, the most engaging stories share several qualities. They include sensory details that allow the listener to see and feel what you are describing. The smell of the room, the quality of the light, the exact words someone said. They contain genuine emotion, your actual feelings in the moment, not a report of feelings, which the listener can feel resonating through your delivery. They have a point. a moment of insight, humor, revelation, or emotional truth that gives the listener something to take away. And they are appropriately paced, moving through the setup quickly enough to reach the payoff without losing the listener, but slowly enough to let the key moments land. Develop your storytelling practice deliberately. Think about the most significant, funny, surprising, or instructive experiences of your life and practice shaping them into stories. Tell them in conversation and pay close attention to when you can feel the listener engaged, leaning in, laughing at the right moments, eyes wide, and when you can feel them drifting. Analyze the difference. Refine accordingly. The best storytellers in the world became that way through exactly this kind of iterative practice. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, now is the perfect moment. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss the content that could genuinely change the trajectory of your life. Every week we go deep on topics that matter: real growth, real change, real results. The community here is one of the most engaged and growth-focused on this platform, and we would love for you to be part of it. Habit 6. Cultivate authentic self-confidence and inner peace. The deepest source of attraction. We have arrived at the sixth and most foundational habit, the one that makes all the others more powerful and more real. Everything we have discussed so far, the body language, the curiosity, the physical health, the growth mindset, the communication, all of it operates most powerfully when it rests on a genuine foundation of authentic self-confidence and inner peace. Without this foundation, the other habits become techniques. With it, they become expressions of who you genuinely are. Authentic self-confidence is not the performance of confidence. It is not the loud, domineering, status-seeking behavior that often passes for confidence in popular culture. Real confidence is quieter than that, and far more compelling. It is the settled assurance of someone who knows their own worth and does not need it constantly confirmed by others. It is the ease of someone who is comfortable enough with themselves that they do not need the social environment to behave in any particular way in order for them to feel okay. Inner peace is perhaps an even deeper quality. People who are genuinely at peace with themselves, with their past, their limitations, their uncertainties, their humanity, carry a quality of calm and settledness that is profoundly attractive. In a world of perpetual anxiety and performance, genuine inner peace stands out like stillness in a storm. Others are drawn to it, sometimes without being able to explain why. They feel safer, more relaxed, and more themselves when they are around someone who is genuinely at peace. These qualities, authentic confidence and inner peace, are not given. They are built through years of inner work, honest self-examination, conscious value clarification, and the daily practice of showing up as yourself rather than as a performance designed to earn approval. They are among the most difficult things we discuss in this video, and among the most worthwhile. The inner work of self-acceptance. Authentic confidence is built on the foundation of genuine self-acceptance, and genuine self-acceptance is one of the most challenging and most misunderstood concepts in personal development. Most people confuse it with self-satisfaction, with giving up on growth, with deciding that you are fine as you are and do not need to change. This is not what self-acceptance means. Genuine self-acceptance means the capacity to hold yourself, your whole self, including the parts you are proud of and the parts you are ashamed of, including your strengths and your persistent failures, including your past and your still unresolved present, with honesty and compassion simultaneously. Not denying what is true about you, not pretending the difficult parts do not exist, but also not being at war with those parts, not treating yourself as a project to be completed before you deserve to exist, not withholding your own love and regard from yourself until you meet some arbitrary standard of perfection. The psychologist Carl Rogers articulated this truth with precision. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself as I am, then I change. The people who are most effectively and most sustainably in the process of growth are almost always those who have made peace with where they currently are, not because they are satisfied to stay there, but because they have released the punishing, depleting internal warfare that uses so much energy it leaves little available for actual growth. Self-acceptance is a practice, not a destination. It is the daily choice to meet your experiences, including your failures, your anxious thoughts, your embarrassing moments, your falling short, with the same gentle compassion you would offer a close friend in the same situation. Asking yourself, when you are struggling, what would I say to a friend who was going through this? And then saying that to yourself. Research on self-compassion, pioneered by psychologist Kristin Neff, consistently shows that people who practice self-compassion, who treat themselves with the same kindness they would offer others, are more resilient, more motivated to improve, more emotionally stable, and more authentically confident than those who rely on self-criticism as a motivational strategy. Self-compassion is not softness. It is the foundation of genuine strength. Values clarity, the compass of authentic living. One of the most powerful foundations of authentic confidence is clarity about your values, your deepest sense of what matters, what you stand for, and what kind of person you are committed to being. When you are clear about your values and when your life is aligned with them, something remarkable happens. You develop a sense of integrity, in the literal sense of being integrated, whole, undivided. And that wholeness is deeply attractive. Values are not the same as preferences or opinions. Preferences are things you like or enjoy. Values are principles you would sacrifice for. Your values are the things that, when you violate them, leave you with a persistent, gnawing sense of wrongness. When you live in accordance with them, you feel a quiet sense of rightness, of being on the correct path, regardless of external results. Many people have never clearly articulated their core values, even to themselves. They operate by vague intuitions about what feels right and wrong, influenced by the expectations of their family, their culture, their peer group, and their own accumulated habits. This lack of clarity leaves them vulnerable to living other people's lives, to making choices that satisfy external expectations rather than internal imperatives. And the resulting sense of inauthenticity creates an internal dissonance that others feel, even when they cannot name it. Invest time in getting clear about your values. What matters most to you when all the noise is stripped away? What are you willing to pay a price for, in terms of comfort, approval, or ease? What are the things that, when you have done them, leave you feeling fully alive and right? What are the things that, when you have done them, leave you feeling hollow or false? These questions, sat with honestly over time, point toward your actual values rather than the values you think you should have. Once you have clarity, the work is alignment, arranging your life so that how you spend your time and energy reflects what you have identified as most important. This is rarely a quick or easy process. It often requires making difficult choices, ending relationships or commitments that are out of alignment, pursuing paths that others do not understand or support, saying no to opportunities that look attractive but pull you away from your deepest priorities. But the sense of integrity and aliveness that comes from living in genuine alignment with your values is one of the most powerful and most attractive qualities you can develop. The practice of presence, mindfulness in daily life. Inner peace has a practical dimension that is accessible to everyone and that makes a more immediate difference than almost any other practice in this section. The cultivation of genuine presence, the ability to be fully here, in this moment, with this person or this experience, rather than perpetually elsewhere in your mind. We live in the most distraction-saturated environment in human history. Our attention has been deliberately, aggressively, and profitably colonized by an ecosystem of apps, notifications, feeds, and media designed by extraordinarily talented people specifically to prevent us from ever being fully present. The result is that most of us experience our lives in a kind of fragmented, half-present state, physically in one place, mentally in another, never quite fully anywhere. The cost of this fragmentation for attractiveness specifically is enormous. When you are not fully present with the person in front of you, they feel it. They may not be able to articulate it, but at some level they sense the quality of your distraction. The part of you that is elsewhere, planning, reviewing, scrolling in imagination if not in reality. And the absence of your full presence creates a sense of connection that is less than it could be. A conversation that is somehow not quite landing. A relationship that feels slightly less real than it should. Mindfulness practice, in its simplest form, the deliberate practice of bringing your attention fully into the present moment and gently returning it there when it wanders, is one of the most direct and evidence-supported practices for building the quality of presence that makes someone magnetically attractive. Research on mindfulness consistently demonstrates that regular practitioners show improvements in emotional regulation, attention, empathy, and overall well-being, all of which directly support attractiveness. The practice is simple. Sit quietly for 15 to 20 minutes, focusing your attention on the sensation of breathing. When your mind wanders, which it will frequently because that is what minds do, gently notice that it has wandered and bring it back to the breath. That is it. That is the practice. And it is, deceptively, one of the hardest and most rewarding things you can do with 15 minutes of your morning. Beyond formal meditation, bring mindfulness to your daily activities. When you are eating, eat, not while scrolling. When you are walking, walk. Notice the world you are moving through. When you are in conversation, be in the conversation, not monitoring your phone. When you are with the people you care about, be with them, actually present, actually attentive, actually there. These small daily choices accumulate into a life that feels richer and more real, and into a version of you that others experience as genuinely, compellingly present. Building genuine confidence through consistent action. Here is the final, essential truth about confidence. It is not a feeling that precedes action. It is a feeling that follows it. Most people wait to feel confident before they act. They wait to feel ready before they try. They wait to feel certain before they commit. And they wait, and wait, and wait, while their lives continue not to match the person they know they are capable of being. The people who build genuine, deep, authentic confidence are the people who act before they feel ready. They do the scary thing, not because they are fearless, but because they have decided that their desire to grow is larger than their desire to be comfortable. And each time they act in spite of the fear, they get two things: the experience of having done it, and the evidence that they are capable of doing it. This evidence accumulates. And over time, the accumulation of evidence transforms into genuine confidence. Not the brittle confidence of someone who has never been tested, but the deep, resilient confidence of someone who has been tested and come through. Every habit in this video is a form of this kind of action. Practicing confident body language when you do not feel confident is an act of courage. Asking a genuine question when social anxiety tells you to stay in your shell is an act of courage. Going to the gym when you are tired and unmotivated is an act of self-investment. Expressing your authentic opinion when you are afraid of disagreement is an act of integrity. Each of these actions, repeated daily, builds the person you are describing with every choice. Start today, not with everything at once. That is the path to overwhelm and failure. Start with one thing, one habit, one small act of courage or self-investment or genuine curiosity, and then do it again tomorrow and the day after. Let the compound effect of daily intention work in your favor, slowly but relentlessly building the most attractive version of yourself from the inside out. The journey of becoming more attractive, in the deepest, truest, most comprehensive sense of that word, is the journey of becoming more fully yourself. More present, more honest, more alive, more engaged, more committed to growth, more genuinely caring of yourself and others. It is a journey without a final destination because the horizon of what you can become is always moving. And that is not a frustrating truth. That is a beautiful one. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, now is the perfect moment. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss the content that could genuinely change the trajectory of your life. Every week we go deep on topics that matter. Real growth, real change, real results. The community here is one of the most engaged and growth-focused on this platform, and we would love for you to be part of it. Final thoughts. The lifelong journey of becoming. You have reached the end of this deep exploration, and if you have truly been present with it, reading carefully, sitting with the ideas, applying them to your own life and relationships, you are already different from the person who began. Ideas do that. Encountering a perspective that challenges you, that expands your sense of what is possible, that offers a mirror in which you see yourself more clearly. These encounters change something, even before you have acted on them. Let us close with a summary of what we have covered, because synthesis is one of the most powerful tools for integrating and retaining what we have learned. The first habit is mastering confident body language. This means developing the posture, eye contact, movement, and facial expressiveness that communicate presence, warmth, and ease before you ever open your mouth. It means understanding that your body is always speaking and choosing, with awareness and practice, what it says. The second habit is cultivating deep and genuine curiosity about others. This means becoming someone who truly listens, who asks questions worth answering, who remembers the details of people's lives and treats them as the fascinating universes they actually are. It means making the shift from wanting to be interesting to being genuinely interested. The third habit is investing relentlessly in your physical health. This means treating sleep as non-negotiable, moving your body consistently and with intention, nourishing yourself with foods that support vitality, and presenting yourself to the world with the care and intentionality that signals self-respect. The fourth habit is cultivating a growth mindset and never stopping your process of becoming. This means staying curious, staying in the discomfort of learning, relating to failure as instruction rather than verdict, and maintaining the aliveness that comes from being someone who is still in the process of becoming more. The fifth habit is communicating with clarity, warmth, and conviction. This means investing in your voice, your words, your stories, and your authentic expression. It means having the courage to say what you actually think and feel, the skill to say it clearly and compellingly, and the warmth to make others feel valued and seen in your presence. The sixth habit is cultivating authentic self-confidence and inner peace. This means doing the inner work of self-acceptance, clarifying and aligning with your values, building the practice of presence through mindfulness, and generating genuine confidence through consistent action rather than waiting to feel it before you try. These 6 habits, practiced together with patience and intention over months and years, do not just make you more attractive, they make you more fully alive. They make you into someone you are proud to be, someone whose inner life matches their outer expression, whose values guide their choices, whose relationships are rich with genuine connection, and whose daily experience of being themselves is characterized by meaning and vitality. That is the real promise here. Not that practicing these habits will cause a certain number of people to find you beautiful, or that you will receive more attention or validation from the world. The promise is that you will become someone who genuinely, authentically, deeply deserves the attraction that naturally follows. Thank you for spending this time with us. If this content has served you, please subscribe to this channel and share this video with someone in your life who needs to hear this message. Leave a comment below telling us which of these 6 habits resonates most with you right now and which one you are committing to starting today. This channel exists to serve people who are doing the genuine work of growth, and every subscriber, every comment, every share helps us reach more of those people. We will see you in the next one. Subscribe, comment, share. Keep growing.